Friends, countrymen, Romans, lend me your gears, because this game is going to grind mine into the dirt. Yes, it's time for the Age of Decadence, a 2015 TRPG and debut title from Iron Tower Studios. Probably the most interesting game to ever struggle against the bonds of the Torque engine. This is a rare breed of post-apocalyptic low fantasy adventure, where Armageddon is so far in the past that it's become mythology. Bad naming if it has no cake. Yep, what can you do? But yeah, the apocalypse happened, and it was so long ago that it's spoken of in basically, like, weird mystical terms. We don't know how much of it is fact or fiction. Basically, we're the remnants of the Roman Empire in Northern Africa, along with some of the appropriate regional counterparts, but with a history that's not exactly Earth's. In fact, what makes this game stand out is its plotting and setting, its writing and story structure. This is easily one of my all-time favorite stories, both what's told and how it's told. And it's a rare case where there's a genuine argument for replaying the game as a completely different character, with vast shifts in perspective and plot depending on decisions. Now, you'll note I said all-time favorite stories. The tragedy of this game is it basically has an inverse difficulty curve, where it's hard as hell to start with, and then levels off to something sort of reasonable toward the end of the first act. Which is a real shame, because there's a good RPG system here, with real diversity in character builds, progression, some unique combat with a focus on consumables. Yeah, Frostpunk, exactly. Yeah, if you survive the first hour or so, you're basically okay. But yeah, they front load the difficulty with encounter design that rewards a few very specific choices, and is best tackled in a specific order to minimize the pain. So half this stream is going to be me complaining about stuff, and half of it is going to be me treating the game like it's voiced by Yu Asakawa, which is to say, I love this game no matter how bad it wants to stab me in a non-sexual way. Let's get started. So yeah, I feel like this sets the tone perfectly. Welcome, adventurer! You're about to die, and we salute you. So yeah, this is basically just saying combat, it means business in here, and when they give you an opportunity to handle things in a non-combat way, consider it carefully, because you are a squishy human, and you are likely to die if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's there's some real interesting stuff happening in Frostpunk, but it's a case where your opening moves really can determine how well you do for basically the rest of the game. But yeah, we're going to be showing two builds here. One, a combat-focused melee character, and the other committing more targeted murder. What starts the adventure is a big fuss over a treasure map, and over here is how your character gets involved in that. The mercenary is protecting the merchant who has it. The assassin is the one coming for the merchant. The Praetor investigates the murder. You get the idea. It's kind of the Dragon Age Origins approach, where all these plots happen separately, and you pick the character who comes out on top. This actually extends down to the factions here as well. You can see each of these has different relationships depending on which character you pick. They also have their own story arcs, which happen concurrently. I happen to have a couple saves for both the Mercenary and the Lore Master here, which shows the main story divergences for each, but we will start with the Mercenary. Exactly, yeah. The combat in the early game absolutely takes save scumming. You're basically picking a strategy and then trying it until the RNG is merciful. Anyway, we are going to make a mercenary Carlesia here. The finest modeling in the Torque engine. We'll go ahead and make her a redhead, because why not? Alright, so we're going to be going with a basic fighter template here. We'll have good strength, dexterity will be our stat to rule them all. Constitution is more about your hit points. Perception is valuable in a lot of skill checks. Intelligence determines how much skill points you get for quest completion. Charisma will be our dump stat. Some people will speak more openly to charisma. You can get through the game perfectly fine with low ones. However, there are certain builds where you basically convince people you're Jesus, or just, like, if you need to bluff a lot of people, like in the Merchant Path that comes up a lot, absolutely valuable. It's entirely possible to beat this game without killing a single person and just tricking other stupider people to do the heavy lifting for you. But yeah, we're going to be... yeah, we'll bump up block, we will bump up axe. Yeah, over here you get separate points in combat and utility skills. Rather smartly, the game both improves them through regular use, Skyrim style, but also gives you points to diversify and round out your build. What most characters do is pick a weapon type, and then pick either dodge or block. These are kind of mutually exclusive. The game only checks your highest value between them, and then a smattering of relevant social skills. Fighters get a lot out of crafting. Thieves benefit from sneak, lockpick, and steal. Diplomats favor etiquette and persuasion, etc., etc. You'll get plenty of points to spread these out, and there's value in picking stuff like streetwise, alchemy, or lore, regardless of your build. You could, in fact, make a merc who is good at dialogue. What you'd probably do in that case is sacrifice a bit of strength and dexterity to bump this up and rely on persuasion and streetwise to get around. In fact, we'll want some streetwise, and we'll grab some alchemy and crafting as well. Alright, so yeah, that ought to do. Let's get rolling. Alright. The world and an empire that once ruled it lie in ruins. Noble houses that lorded over provinces and commanded vast armies have been reduced to broken city-states. The Imperial Guard, remnants of the Imperial Army, acts as a deterrent to open warfare. The knowledge of the old days has been all but forgotten. Hucksters peddle ancient wares of no value to the ignorant, and the lords seek and hoard artifacts they barely understand. A fanatical mysticism is slowly gaining favor, and long-held resentments are rising to the surface. Some speculate that another war approaches, others actively encourage it. Times like these bring nothing but suffering for the common man. However, they offer a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to those determined to seize the moment and follow it to riches, power, glory, and often an untimely death. Your adventure starts in Tehran, a small, crumbling town far away from the main tracks of travelers and caravans. It's been dying for the last 100 years or so, kept alive only by the combined efforts of its inhabitants. Broken stonework has been replaced by makeshift wood construction, creating the impression that a new town is slowly emerging from the ruins of the old one. Much like Tehran, the noble house controlling the town has seen better days. Before the war that toppled the empire and the devastation that ensued, House Durratan was one of the most powerful houses. But that was then, and times have changed. Today, it barely has the strength to maintain its hold over the local guilds. You make a living providing protection services to the inn's patrons. When you were too young to know any better, you spent your days drinking and fighting. Your dedication to the craft was noticed, and you were offered a job at the inn. Now you're paid to break heads with when the locals are getting too drunk and out of control, and the drinks are on the house. Alright, so we gotta jump right into it here. So yeah, the inn is full of guests. After spending weeks and sometimes months on the road, they have an unhealthy appetite for cheap wine, stove-cooked meals, and women willing to sell their beds for a few coins. So as you can see, the engine is not much to look at. This is the same engine that Dead State ran on, and you can kind of tell they're making do with some generic assets and a few custom designs here and there. There's a certain stiffness to the way NPCs behave and idly animate that gives it away. But they do a decent-ish job creating the environment that's reasonably evocative. You can see that this town is in better days. A lot of ornate stonework is just lying in ruins with nobody to really fix it up. And it's kind of later on where the game starts flexing its creative muscles a little bit. Hey, Mirage! Oh, you're on a tree in Odyssey 3. Oh, man. Yeah, there's another game that'll test your mettle. Isometric 3D. Yeah, protection services, the fanciest way to say bouncer I've ever heard. Alright, we will save real quick. Actually, alright, so we do have some starting gear depending on our build. Go ahead and throw the helmet on. We got some nets here. Good. Consumables are very important to even the odds in some of the earlier game fights. Alright, let's talk to our boss here, the innkeeper. Atlas teleported Maze is like, I like how much this sucks. Alright, easy on the wine, Carlicia. You're working tonight, remember? Don't worry about it. As you talk, a tired man in dusty, weathered clothes enters the inn and looks around. Several caravan crewmen carry his chests and bags inside. The man carefully inspects his belongings and after a brief conversation pays the crewman. Hail to you, Master Gracius. It's been a while. How may we serve you? The innkeeper's attention is on Gracius, which doesn't prevent him from gesturing to his servants to pour Gracius some wine. 3 fingers indicate the quality of wine. Roast a fresh bird over the coals, and move the chest to storage. A room from me and storage from my goods. Find me a good lore master, and send me one of your guards to make sure I'm not disturbed, says Gracius, tossing the innkeeper coin. Did you hear that, Carlicia? Our guest requires the pleasure of your company, so go clean yourself and do something useful for a change. That's the thing, yeah. There is a certain charm to a game that relies on text to not have voice acting, that encourages you to read and allows the game to fill out in the space between what it can actually show. If you pay attention here, you actually do see some little variations in where the characters move, and they sort of paint still images in which the text sort of fills in the gap in between them. Anyway, onto the trader's room. Time to get to work. Just a second, gonna move my notes down a little. Alright. The trader looks at you critically, frowning at the dents in your armor. Keep unwanted visitors out of my room, he says before turning away. You will not be disturbed, master. Alright. So you can see right away our build is starting to matter. Stats get checked pretty often in this game, and there's no way to raise them in story. Almost no way, I should say. This is important to know, as some of these dialogue encounters can have serious consequences if your stats are deficient. Some are explicitly fatal. Now, it's usually good about signposting this, and that won't be a problem for quite a while, and, most such encounters will have autosave beforehand, but something to keep in mind when deciding what you want to do. If it looks dangerous, it probably is. Anyway. Ah, wait, true to Kaiser, exactly. Hey, good to see you, Zero. Anyway, we're awakened in the middle of the night by a soft click coming from the lock. The door opens and a shadowy figure slips into the room. Determined to earn your pay, you put on a show, lunging at the intruder and making enough noise to wake up the trader. When you're satisfied with your efforts, you throw the unfortunate thief out of the room and turn to the trader. Who was that? He asks, looking visibly shaken. An assassin, master. He almost had me, but I couldn't give up, knowing that your life was in peril. So you can see here our streetwise are kicking in, are able to hustle this guy a little bit. I owe you my life, exclaims the trader, appearing greatly relieved. If you're ever in Madoran, talk to Kemnebi and tell him I sent you. He's careful and doesn't hire anyone without a recommendation from someone he trusts. He'll take care of you. So I actually got a small skill point bonus from that, and someone we can look up later in the game. Now, time for the actual plot to kick in. A shadowy figure slips into the room through the open window and, without wasting any time, raises a loaded crossbow, pointing it at the trader. Gracious, says the assassin calmly. The Commercium wishes to remind you that you're still not welcome in this town. He pulls the trigger before he finishes talking, and Gracious goes down with a bolt in his chest. Alright, well, we kind of fucked up our job that time, but we can at least make this guy pay for it. Alright, so here's the combat. It's sort of standard... Oh, hang on a second, we're going to zoom in as best we can. Torque engine jank at its work. It's sort of standard turn-based, but there's a lot of detail here. So we're going to rush in on this guy. It's going to take most of our action points. We can't really do much to him this turn. We could theoretically knock him back, but he doesn't have... If we're in close, he won't try to reload his crossbow. So let's go ahead and wait. Now, because of our combat stats, we can pretty effortlessly parry anything this guy throws at us. He did get a scratch, but we should be able to walk this. We've got a pretty good two-hit chance. And if you're really into the numbers in this game, over here is a breakdown on everything, giving us pluses and minuses to hit. And I believe if you stay put... Yeah, there we go, yeah. It'll actually expand and show the bonuses that the enemy has as well. This game gives you a lot of information and expects you to make the most of every turn. So we'll stick to basic attacks for now. Alright, good hit. We actually busted his armor a little bit, such as it is. Alright. Now let's see, actually, right. That'll come up later. Now we actually have a lot of options here. Kind of like in Dead State, but much more focused on melee combat here. If you wanted to debilitate your enemy, you had a variety of aimed attacks that can hobble their legs to make them easier to hit, hobble their arms to lower their ability to hit you. Head is a good way to crit on the enemy. It also penalizes their attack, that kind of thing. In the early game, you're not going to have the skills to make that reliably hit, but as you get better, that becomes much more important in managing multi-opponent combat, and particularly dangerous single individuals. Almost got this guy down. And down he goes. Alright. Well, might as well loot the bodies, since we didn't exactly, carry ourselves well there as a guard. And might as well loot everything in the chest as well. Why not? This is not a game that is going to punish you, morally speaking. There are certain cases where your actions do have consequences, but it expects you to act in a very self-interested manner, and you kind of just need to be smart about what interest that is. Exactly, Skyrim style. Alright, nothing left to do but wait for the innkeeper to sort this mess out. Alright, perception success. You notice that the trader is clutching some parchment in his hand, as if he had hoped it would shield him from harm. It looks like an old map. Might fetch you a couple Imperials. When you take it, you notice a small gray sphere lying on the floor nearby. You pick it up and carefully examine it. It's an unusual metal sphere with several grooves running around it. Perhaps a lore master might be of service. Fuck, says the innkeeper, looking at the dead trader thoughtfully. Well, suppose we all knew it was coming, although it would have been nice if he was killed elsewhere. How do you expect me to run a business? He sighs. His goods are still in storage, continues the innkeeper in a different tone. We can sell them to the commercium for nothing, or we can actually make a few coins. What do you think, Carlicia? I wouldn't say no to a few coins. Alright, take the goods to Kado. Vardanis will handle the negotiations, so all you gotta do is watch his back and show that we mean business. Easiest money you'll ever make. Alright, let's go. The 40 Thieves Guild is a large and seemingly indefatigable network of thieves, smugglers, and other criminally inclined citizens. The guild operates in every town and traces its origin to the early days of the Empire. Said that in the past, the 40 kingpins of the 40 largest towns used to coordinate the network. Opinion is divided as to the relations and ties of the 40 Thieves of yore and its current incarnation, but the name persists. In Tehran, the guild operates out of a local tavern, a popular destination for people who feel at home in shady parts of town and dark alleys. Taverns full of people laughing, arguing, and drinking. At the back of the tavern, piles of loot sit atop tables, waiting to be counted and divvied. At the end of the room, the far end of the room, Kado conducts his business while keeping an eye on the guests. So again, a lot of text in this game, giving you a lot of exposition, but I think it also works in this case because you are given a lot of information you don't always know how is reliable. A lot of this game's conversations and backstory is about people's perceptions of the past and the idea that what we know is based on stories that have been told over centuries, and undoubtedly the truth has been lost at some point. Anyway, Vardanis, my friend, how are you? Kado is all smiles. Who's your friend? Don't tell me you feel you have to bring some muscle with you. I'm hurt. Kado checks the goods, pays without haggling, and just like that, the deal is done. Let's head back, says Vardanis, looking relieved. Return to the inn. The thugs come out of nowhere. You follow Vardanis, who grows more confident with each step, talking business and making big plans, when two men step out from the shadows. They look at Vardanis and smile as if he were their long-lost kin. Spare a coin? One thug asks, pulling out a knife and smirking at his joke. Don't be so eager to die for nothing, friend, says the thug. You see, Vard and me go way back. We have a lot of catching up to do, don't we? So here, he throws you a gold coin. Take the rest of the night off. Yeah, no, I'm cheap, but I'm not... I'm cheap, but I'm not that cheap, pal. Alright, let's fight. So now we have another fight here, and Vardanis here is going to be mostly a dodge tank. It is very difficult to keep him alive here. Usually he gets dealt with by this guy, but we'll do our best. So let us get to work on this guy. Alright, that's a good opening hit. What we'll probably do is start using our nets to hold this guy in place. Alright. Yeah, as you can see, he quickly gets... Usually he does last for a few rounds, and if we really want to, we can start at the beginning of this fight and try it again. One important mechanic is this right here, waiting until the end of the turn to act. That'll be important for what we're about to do. So we'll let him take his turn first. Nice, good shot. Alright, so now we're going to entangle this guy in a net, and regardless of your throwing skill, nets usually hit the target. It's rare when an enemy has enough dodge to make it an issue. Throwing is more for weapons that do actual damage, but what this does is radically increase our 2-hit chance, so we might actually have an ability to hit him in the legs for a bonus to hit again. Ah, see, he's still able to dodge. But we'll get a second chance at the start of our next turn, which is right now. So it's a good idea because people usually don't break out of nets or proc any debuffs that are on them until it's their turn again. So one more swing. There we go. Now he's got a dodge penalty. Now, we should be able to hit him harder, quicker. Ah, motherfucker. Ah, well, down he goes. Alright. Well, we'll just have to make deal with this guy quickly. Alright. Decent-ish hit. Fun thing about this game is there's not a lot of weapons that are clearly weapon categories that are clearly superior to each other's. Axes do more base damage but have fewer special features. Swords are more likely to cause bleeding. Hammers are likely to cause armor damage. Daggers are less likely to get through armor, but as you can see, they attack way more often with them. So if you do get good, you can start to crit and ignore armor, basically. Yep. All right, looks like looks like the leg damage wore off. We can just focus on getting this guy down. As you can see, our block skill is more than adequate to the task. Keeping Vardanis alive is actually very difficult. My first time, it probably took me close to 10 tries. He is not likely to live unless you are unless you are very specifically spec'd, or if you spam nets, basically. Alright, so now it's just me and this guy. One other thing of note is that your HP never increases over the course of the game. What I said about your stats also applies to your health, and outside a few very specific choices and quest resolutions, what you have at the start of the game is what you have at the end of the game. So every hit matters, and becomes very important to prioritize defense in combat. In general, if you have the option of raising a combat skill or a defensive skill, put points in defense first. This is especially important because you cannot heal in combat. You do get crafting items and various medicines that can help you out of combat, but very little you can do once you start taking damage. Alright. Vardanis should have the money on him. He won't need it where he's going. That's the mercenary way! Alright. Sorry, old man. I got money to make. It's a busy night, but you've seen worse. Dying for nothing is easy these days. It's staying alive that's the tricky part. Now, if we wanted to, we could go right back to the tavern and talk to Kato about the guys that they sent us. We've already taken a beating, and that might lead to another fight, so we're gonna go to the inn and heal up. Where's Vardanis? Where's the money? Dead, as is often the case when one's chasing easy money. Fuck, says the innkeeper, mirroring his earlier sentiment. Oh well, at least we tried, eh? Yeah, we tried. Got any more jobs for me? Seeing that the last two men you were supposed to protect ended up dead? No, not really, Carlacia. The Imperial Guards are recruiting, though. Might just be the place for you. Might be. Do you know a good lore master? Talk to Feng. Alright, so now we're going to look into this map we got. That'll be the MacGuffin that about half the plot is about. So let us check in on this guy. Don't sell priceless artifacts for nothing. Come and see Feng first. In a world on its way downhill, the future lies in preserving the pre-war knowledge. Lore masters, the self-proclaimed experts on antiquity, are on the front line of this trade, digging through ruins, copying ancient manuscripts, trading bits and pieces of pre-war knowledge, and appraising anything that looks old. Feng came to Tehran with a caravan 2 decades ago. Nobody knew where he came from or why, but he had the bitterness of a man soured by the memory of the life he lost. He was well versed in languages and antiquities, but the town already had a lore master. Fortunately for Feng, this lore master soon fell sick and passed away, despite the best efforts of the local alchemist, who was quite puzzled by his symptoms. Shortly thereafter, Feng became the new lore master, and even earned the favor of Lord Antitus after discovering a number of Duratan relics. What is it? Asks Feng with irritation, acknowledging your presence and putting down some mechanism he was studying. Can you appraise something for me? A wise choice. Many people sell very valuable items without realizing their true nature. Let me see. This... I can't believe it! It can't be! Feng puts the map down. looking shocked. This, my friend, is an extremely valuable artifact. I'd be honored to research it for you, but it will cost you 50 Imperials. Alright? It's the fabled math of Thorogoth. It shows the way to the Magi's artifacts that were buried when the war ended to prevent them falling into the wrong hands. I've heard about this map, but never thought that one day I'd be holding it in my hands. Fang pulls out a magnifying glass. Something is written at the bottom of the glyph language. The Eye of Thorogoth will show you the way, he reads slowly. The Eye of Thorogoth, whispers Fang. Yeah. Oh, so we're in Iraq and then Thorogoth shows up. Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. He goes to one of his chests and starts digging through its content until he finds what he is looking for. A large, round, tricolored crystal framed in gold. The center of the crystal is completely black, giving it the appearance of an eye. I found it a long time ago in the ruins west from here. It was shining softly and warm to the touch. That's how the gem will guide you. It will glow brighter and brighter the closer you get. Now I'm too old to go with you, but I'll let you borrow the eye for 100 Imperials. I know I can trust you to bring it back when you find the treasure of the Magi. Yeah, why not? He seems legit. Fang counts the money twice and then carefully hangs the Eye of Thorogoth around your neck. The crystal feels heavy and warm. Somehow you feel different. Don't forget to bring it back, reminds Fang, reluctantly letting go of the eye. Talk to Lord Antidus. He will know what to do next. Before you go, Carlesia, I have a favor to ask. Lord Antidus has invited another lore master to Tehran. While I'd welcome the chance to work with a fellow lore master, Cassius, the new lore master, wouldn't tolerate a second opinion and will surely get rid of me. I'm too old to beg, Carlesia, but I'm begging you to help me. Get rid of Cassius for me, and I'll pay you well. He's probably at the inn already, so don't waste any time. How much will you pay me? 50 Imperials. Sure, why not? Always be hustling in this work. Always get in this line of work. So anyway, we're going to run over to the inn here. This is one of those decisions that has surprisingly long-lasting consequences. This is Cassius right here. 42-year-old lore master Cassius, contemptuously called Young Cassius by his gray-haired colleagues, has never understood the appeal of digging through dirt and ruins like a rat. Instead, he preferred to spend his time among neatly preserved scrolls, studying the work of many prominent lore masters of the antiquity and hundreds of accompanying commentaries he considered indispensable. Master Cassius was working on a second tractate, analyzing manifestations of the divine will in the year 4052, when Antidus emissaries invited him to Tehran. Cassius arrived early, was getting tired of waiting when you showed up and graced him with your attention. Actually, I'm going to make one quick point expenditure here. We're going to points in Critical Strike, which will let us off people in dialogue as well as deliver more critical hits. And one other word about the writing here. There's such great sardonic wit even in the small lines here. Like if you pay attention to the flavor text of your skill level down here. Yeah, skill level. You flail your weapon in the general direction of your enemies. Novice. Keeping your eyes open when you attack seems to help. Journeyman. Predominantly concerned with making contact, you target whatever your opponent gives you. And so it's like they're poking fun at you, but the better you get in a skill, the more it starts to shift into genuine respect. Yeah, like Streetwise level 2, you're the proud owner of a new bridge. Streetwise level 3, you're sure they'll pay you back as soon as they're able to. It's just very great writing that is both verbose and concise, exactly where it's in need to be. I love this game for that. Anyway, let's lead him somewhere to deal with Feng's problem here. Lord Antidus has sent me to escort you. Follow me. Cassius looks around in confusion. What is this hovel? Explain yourself immediately. Damn it, I think I did not have enough critical strike for that. Hang on a second. Maybe we have to try intimidating him first. You made a mistake coming here. If you want to live, leave now and never come back. Yeah, I do love the level 1 miserable failure to ace hero. That is this game to a T. Damn it. I think I missed a chance here. Damn it. Hold on a second. Did we... No, that was the last call. No, there was supposed to be a catch there, and I think I lacked the streetwise to recognize that he was going to slip away. So that is a problem we will have to deal with later. But, you know, that's a problem for later. Anyway, Fang, I totally legit did your task here. Cassius is no longer a problem. Hey, Ivory, good to see you. So, young Cassius is gone and will bother us no more. Good riddance, I say. Such a pompous ass that boy was. Here's the money I promised, but I owe you a lot more than what I paid you. You must forgive an old man his habits, so I'd like you to take a look at this. Feng carefully unwraps a small bundle and shows you a ring. It's a heavy silver ring, covered with softly glowing runes. While the metal feels cold to the touch, the glowing runes burn your fingertips. It's the famous magic ring of General Galbo, explains Feng. The ring was crafted by the Council of Magi to grant the general special powers, which made him unstoppable in battle. After the general's death, the ring was thought to be lost and hasn't been seen for centuries. It is without a doubt one of the most important relics of the Empire. Its reappearance is a great omen. I'd give it to you for free, but I'm a poor old man. 100 Imperials is all I'm asking for it. So, those of you who can do basic math in the audience, we were going to get paid 50 Imperials to deal with Cassius, and he wants 100 Imperials for a relic he only gives us if we take care of Cassius. Do we come out ahead in this transaction? Well, I am not one to turn down a magic ring. Here's the money. The ring is yours, Carlicia. I can tell that you are destined for great things. Where are you from, Feng? The Heavenly Kingdom of Jin. Where else? Why did you come here? Alright, so we're not nearly charismatic enough to get his life story out of him, so anger flares in Feng's eyes, but he manages to control himself. It was so long ago I can hardly remember, he says with a fake smile. Alright. Now, we'll be switching gears to our other characters shortly, but first, let's follow this narrative thread to the palace. As we were asked to take the map there, as the local Lord Antidas has great interest in ancient relics. Now, normally we'd have trouble getting in, but a funny little event is going to happen because of our encounter with Cassius. Carlicia, Lord Antidas is expecting you. He is? Your deeds speak for themselves, don't they? Come, let's not make the old man wait. You stand in the hall of Antidas, signs of wealth and power all around you. Wherever you look, you see exotic tapestries and paintings. Rare vases, gleaming statues. Ornate pillars run the length of the hall, all the way to the throne itself, where Lord Antidas is sitting in front of his audience, a group of petitioners seeking his aid and favor. Soldiers of the house stand guard, ready to shield Antidas, and turn the hall into a slaughterhouse at the first sign of trouble. Yeah, charisma isn't even high enough to get a starving dog to eat a rare steak from your hands, never mind convincing someone to admit they're a criminal. Yeah, no kidding. You wait for your turn and approach. Lord Antidas gestures, and a man steps from behind the throne. It's your old friend Cassius, smiling triumphantly. I want to believe that you acted out of ignorance. Consider this conversation your first and final warning. My lord, please allow me to... We'll talk later, Carlicia. I need to talk to Master Cassius first. Alright. Well, that went poorly. But how else could we have resolved that? With violence, naturally. And speaking of violence, we're going to quickly get into why the early game is such a pain in the ass. Because there are a lot of random encounters... Not necessarily random. There are a lot of... dialogue encounters here that quickly lead to violence. And if you're not ready for them, they can be a huge problem. Like, this gang over here basically exists to be a combat tutorial. And if you fight them head-on, they will surround you and chop you to pieces. But if you bring them back over here, you can choke them off and kill them one by one. There's another encounter over here that I think also helps set the tone of this game. And for that, we'll need Streetwise 3. Fight the cops. You can do that to a certain extent. There are certain things that will make it easier to intimidate or deal with guards, but obviously if you keep fighting them, you'll deal with an overwhelming force. But anyway, when we head back here, as you walk down the street, you see a young woman running from a drunken mercenary. Please, you must help me, cries the girl, grabbing your arm pleadingly. The mercenary takes another step forward, and the girl darts behind you, as if to shield herself from him. The bitch owes me money, yells the mercenary. 8 Imperials! Who's gonna pay me, you? You have a feeling that something is wrong. Suddenly, you become aware that the situation isn't what it seems. The mercenary's anger seems fake, and the girl is sobbing and clinging to you in an almost theatrical manner. You also become aware that her hands are too close to your money. Grab her. The girl senses the change in you and tries to jump back, but it's too late. She tries to squirm out of your grasp, but ends up on the ground, looking at a dagger in your hand. Hand me everything you have. I don't have anything on me. It's in a house not too far away. I'll take you there if you promise to let me go. Please! She's too eager. The girl is too eager. She'll probably lead you into an ambush. On the other hand, their stash is probably there too. Decisions. Screw it. No guts, no glory. Take me there. The girl leads you to a rundown house. It's in there, all in there. You'll let me go, won't you? Just like you promised, she says, opening the door for you. You step inside. The girl pushes you forward, and you find yourself facing a short, skinny man with slanted eyes and black hair. Who the fuck are you? Asks the Urdu in a heavy accent. She wants our money, giggles the girl. The door opens and the mercenary charges in. The Urdu gestures and the mercenary lowers his axe and takes a step back. In this life, says the Urdu with a faint smile, you can have only what you can take and keep. If you can take your money from me, they are truly yours. If you can't, go get your money. Alright. And we are basically screwed at this point, but these guys have weapons that can get through our armor and enough skill to get around our block. We'll go for a round here and see how this goes, but there's no real way to protect ourselves, so we're just going to have to huddle up in a corner and make the best of it. Yeah, you see, this guy's cutting right through me. Fun little detail, there's actually quite a few unique dialogues, or unique death scenes depending on the circumstances. The main thing that makes this difficult is every encounter is fixed. There's no real level grinding, there's no real going out and doing other things until you get doing random things until you get better. There are no random things. There's only doing quests in a particular order to get better at what you actually want to do, and you're not going to know an ideal order until you've gotten good ways into the game. So yeah, you thought that you were a hero, feeling mighty good about yourself. Of course, that was until you discovered that you'd been taken for a fool. Then you let your anger consume you and tell you all kinds of unhelpful things. That was your first mistake. You listened to the anger in your heart when it said, nobody fucks with you, which was definitely a lie. You listened again when it said, you're gonna go and get your money back, which is ultimately what got you killed. You stormed into hideout. Your righteous anger failed to kill the thieves or produce any noticeable effect, as you were promptly surrounded and hacked to pieces. All over 100 coins. Your final mistake. Alright. Let us switch gears a little bit to my Lore Master build, Carlamus. So yeah, Lore Masters make their trade by analyzing artifacts that predate the war. At least that's the paper of it. As we'll learn from our Master Feng, you might remember him, there's a bit more to the trade. Anyway, we are quite a bit squishier. We've mostly got a social build here. Low strength, high dex, decent constitution, high perception and such. The main differences are we're going to be a little more charisma focused so we can get more information out of people, and we're going to be building up our stealth and critical strike stuff. We're also going to be basically a dodge crossbow build, which is a bit niche, but has some real good damage potential once you actually get rolling. Anyway, let's talk to Feng and try to... Actually, I'm going to look around here real quick, because there's some free skill ups we can get. It's a large, carefully restored document tracing the history of House Daratan throughout histories. I keep going back and forth between Daratan and Daratan. But anyway, turns out the house owes its name to the Battle of Daratan, where a certain Legatus managed to defeat an army of 20,000 men with less than a full legion. That gives us a free skill up of lore. One nice thing about this game is that there is no wasting skill points when it comes to skill gain. If you already have your skill up to a certain level, you'll just get the skill points in the relevant category instead of the upgrade. So there are small bits of mercy scattered throughout this game, but you need to be real careful in this opening chapter. Alright, and this is just various stuff that's hidden around Feng's room, but with some interesting suggestions about what Feng really does. So yeah, notes, candles, writing materials. It appears that Feng is interested in General Marcellus Galbo, a famous military tactician and strategist of the old empire. You might remember we bought his ring as Carlicia. Alright, we already went over his backstory here. Did you finish translating that scroll? Never mind, I have a better job for you. Someone at the inn has a trinket they want me to look at. Why don't you handle it? Just remember what I taught you. Take a good look, show some excitement, then tell them it's a very valuable artifact that's worth a lot to the right collector, and that they were right to bring it to us to learn its true value. Wait for the words to sink in, then ask for 100 Imperials to research it further. What if it actually is a valuable artifact? Artifacts? I've been stuck in this shithole you call a town for the last 20 years. Year after year, farmers and diggers bring me everything they find, hoping for a lucky break. They bring me bracelets, cheap pottery, rusty old locks, pipes, chamber pots, even deformed skulls. The sad truth is, this town doesn't have anything of value, which is probably the only reason why Antitas is still in charge. Why did you stay then? Weren't you listening? Every year, peasants bring me junk to appraise. Good business. You said he had a trinket? I think the word map was mentioned. Go take a look. If it's something good, bring it back to me. So, off we go. Alright. So yeah, we navigate the busy crowd and go upstairs. The trader's room is easy to find. Are you the lore master I sent for? Asked Gracius, letting you in. I'm Carlamus, Master Fang's apprentice. Should my master's attention be required, I'll send for him. Where's the artifact? Right here. Gracius hands you a scroll. You open the scroll carefully and study it for a few minutes. It looks like an ordinary map depicting a temple. There's an old seal at the bottom. The name on the seal is Thoragoth. It's a very valuable artifact that's worth a lot to the right collector. You were wise to bring it to us to learn its true value. And what might this true value be? Gracius tries to sound indifferent, but it's obvious that Feng's simple formula worked its magic. For someone who is interested in the High Lord's artifacts, it could be worth thousands. I'll have to study the map further, of course, to determine its history and value. Please forgive this uneducated trader, Mr. Carlamus, but who are the High Lords? I'll be presenting this map to Antidas tomorrow, and I'd like to impress his lordship with some bits of knowledge. According to the legends, the High Lords were our allies in the war between our glorious empire and the ruthless Kantari. While their nature is debatable, most lore masters agree that it was definitely supernatural. This map bears the seal of Thoragoth, or Torgoth, as he was also known. And what is the significance of the seal? Thoragoth's title was the Artificer. He built many machines, but most were destroyed during the war or lost after. There are many people who hope that some caches have survived and can be recovered. They collect and study Thoragoth's documents looking for clues. That's why we want to be absolutely certain that the seal makes the map so valuable that it isn't a fake. It might be very embarrassing for you otherwise, unless, of course, you insist that... Of course not, Master. Please, take the map and study it properly. And the money? I'm sure you know what the standard research fee is. Gracius gives you a small purse without any enthusiasm. You're about to leave when you notice his hesitation. There's something else I'd like you to take a look at. You seem very knowledgeable. He pauses and reaches inside his sash. I found it where I found the map. He gives you a small object. It's a metal sphere with grooves on its surface. So this is the thing we found as Carlicia because we've passed a perception check. So now we're going to take this over to Feng. I don't know what it is. I'm not even sure it's an artifact. I'll show it to Master Feng and let you know what he thinks. You're about to leave when the innkeeper stops you. Another, guest is in need of your services, Master. He's a prospector. Would you be kind enough to take a look? What the hell. The innkeeper sends one of the slaves to get the prospector. It's a man with sun-darkened skin, unkempt hair, and a heavy beard. His faded, worn-out clothes are still covered with road dust. He opens his bag, takes out a dozen carefully wrapped items of various sizes, and slowly removes the dirty rags protecting them. You browse through his treasures. Gears, pottery, half-burned scrolls with faded, no longer decipherable letters, glass jars with strange liquids. Anything you want to buy? He asks anxiously. I'm embarrassed to admit, but I find myself without sufficient funds to pay for a comfortable stay, although I'm sure that some of these artifacts are bound to fetch a high price. I mean, just look at this beauty. He picks up a rusted cylinder with a spiral groove. The very definition of a mysterious device. For a wondrous artifact, no doubt. What do you think? It's called a worm, and it's missing a gear that goes with it. It was a common device. Prospector sighs and unwraps yet another artifact, revealing a charred skull. The skull of a magi! The power still burns through him, much like it did when he was alive, walking the earth and battling demons. When nights are dark, it glows softly, keeping the demons at bay. It does have magic, but it's dangerous and will kill you if you keep it. Stay away from anything that glows in the dark. Why? The old magic is like fire. It can keep you warm, cook your food, help you forge weapons and tools, but it can also burn down your house or a forest. Yeah, Radium Skull. Yeah, funny thing about that. Later on, you actually talk to someone who is suffering from... You talk to a guy who has people quarantined in a house suffering from some mystery illness. He just mentions that they seemingly caught it while crossing in the desert, and if he describes the symptoms, it is identical to that of acute radiation poisoning, and it's one of those little things in the background that hints at what you might really be dealing with all this talk of ancient war and magi. Anyway... He's got a special charm that keeps him safe, so let's take a look at this thing. You turn it over in your hands thoughtfully. Adorned with beads and engraved with runes, it appears to be a ceremonial bowl of some sort. Strangely warped, but that isn't unusual for artifacts of the old empire. Who knows what arcane forces have been unleashed on it. Two small metal drums are affixed to the underside, too awkwardly angled to be supports for the bowl. You wrap one with a knuckle and listen. Hollow. Reservoirs, perhaps, containers of sacred liquid for the bowl? You're unsure, but you keep your expression neutral. It wouldn't do for the punters to see your uncertainty. Unprofessional. Junk. Worthless junk. Are you sure? Do you know what it is? It's a ceremonial bowl for burning incense. Well, don't I feel foolish now. Still, the jewels alone gotta be worth a few hundred. What do you think I can get for it? I can get off your hands for 200 Imperials. Now, we don't have any trading skills, so that won't work. 300 and we have a deal. You won't regret it, I promise. Now, failure isn't often a fail state in this game. A lot of dialogue checks you'll be able to keep on trucking somehow. You just might not necessarily get an optimal outcome. The game is very good about providing very few hard stops in dialogue unless you're about to do something explicitly stupid, like charge a guard without the necessary skills to sneak by him or silently murder him or overpower him. Anyway, back to Feng we go. Yeah. How did it go? It went well. I got a map, a sphere, and 100 Imperials. A map and a sphere. Oh, what a glorious day. The seal looks real. I'll take a better look tonight and let you know in the morning. As for the sphere, it's just a bead from some common necklace. He counts 50 Imperials and gives them to you. And we rest for the night. The map is ordinary. No X marks the spot there. The seal is interesting and well preserved, but it's worth no more than 100 Imperials. Maybe Antitas will buy it. Go see him when you have a chance. So again, very different tenor from when we spoke to him as Carlesia. He's very straight with us and is not trying to upsell what this thing's value is, but he's teaching us how to hustle other people. That's an essential ingredient in the lore master's trade, and less advertised when people talk about them. So what about the trader, Gracius? Almost forgot. He's dead, so you can keep the map. Apparently he wasn't welcome in this town, and with the Assassin's Guild almost out of work, I'm surprised he made it as far as the inn. Is there anything else you want me to do? As a matter of fact, you see, Carlimus, being a lore master isn't just about dealing with rarities. Knowing how to deal with people is equally important. I believe I've neglected this part of your education, but fortunately it should be easy to fix. Lord Antitas has invited another lore master to Tehran. Needless to say, I don't share his opinion that 2 heads are better than 1, and I'll be very grateful if you can find a way to get rid of the new lore master, to secure your future and learn a valuable lesson at the same time. His name is Cassius. He's probably at the inn already. Are you asking me to kill him? Do I detect some qualms? You have so much to learn. When you have a thorn in your side, do you not remove it? Ah, perhaps you think a man isn't a thorn. Then a man's life, unlike that of an insect, has some value. It doesn't. Truly, I should be charging you for these lessons. Take this dagger, Carlimus, and go. Prove that my faith in you wasn't misplaced. Alright. Now, we don't have any skill in daggers, but if you do have critical strike, you can use whatever weapons you have on hand. That very often does need a dagger, so we'll bump that up a little bit, just to show what happens when we decide we've had enough of all this talking business. And the fun thing about this game is you very much can bounce between martial and social skills as needed, and build interesting hybrids. It's just not until like the mid-game that you actually get enough points and skills to survive the encounters you might come across town. The second city, Madoran, is a little better about this, but in Tehran you absolutely need to be ready for the pitfalls that are around you. Alright, Lord Antitas has sent me to escort you. Follow me. Off to an abandoned house. What is this hovel? Explain yourself immediately. You made a mistake coming here. If you want to live, leave now and never come back. Damn it. Oh, here we go. Yes. Perception success. That's right, because I have a higher perception. That's what it was. There's eagerness in Cassius' eyes, but it's not the eagerness to leave. He thinks he has outsmarted you, so he'll probably go to Antitas the moment you leave him alone, even if you drag him through the gate kicking and screaming. He's too close to the prize to just leave. And down he goes. Your strike is fast and lethal. One moment, Cassius is standing next to you, the next he's down, clutching the wound and looking as if he doesn't understand what just happened. Regardless, he's dead in less than a minute. Alright. Nice and easy. See? A lot of problems can be solved if you have no personal scruples. Interestingly, there is a way to keep both guys alive and end up on decent terms if you are very good at a speech build. But it kind of requires some metagaming and such. A lot of people won't be able to do that. Anyway, Cassius is no longer a problem. So yeah, he's going to give us this ring. He gives us the same spiel he gave Carlesia. But because we have decent alchemy, we can figure out what's really going on. What did you use? Zinc sulfide? Phosphorus? You have an inquisitive mind, nods Feng. We must always seek logical explanations first, and then and only then should we consider the supernatural ones. So as I was saying, the ring had changed many hands until it was somehow acquired by your great-grandfather. Since you are, quite obviously, unworthy of possessing such an artifact, you've decided to offer it to Lord Antidus, who, as everyone knows, is the true and only son of the Empire, as a tribute. With me so far? Yes, count me in. Very well then. Now we can get more backstory from Feng with our high charisma build, but it's kind of a long speech, so we'll focus more on the branching plot here. So as we go up to the palace, we're going to have a much different reaction from the guard. Actually, yeah, we don't have enough points to bump up a speech skill. Let's try talking our way in. Dalar looks like a tired old scribe, proving that appearances are often misleading. At 17, he signed up as a caravan guard. It took 3 years to realize that his father was wrong about honest work, then he switched sides and started raiding the same caravans he guarded yesterday. 4 years later, the Merchants Guild finally paid the Imperial Guards a king's ransom, which quickly solved their raiders' problem. Hundreds of dead raiders were nailed to Madoran walls, and a few lucky survivors were sent to the mines to work off their debt to the guild. For almost a decade, Dalar mined iron ore, fighting for food scraps and his life until he managed to escape to Tehran, where Antidus took him under his wing. Dalar watches you without expression. When you get close enough, he gestures to you to stop and studies you for a while. "What do you want?" he finally asks, as if he failed to guess the purpose of your visit and is genuinely curious. "Master Feng has sent me to see Lord Antidus." "He did he? Well, let me tell you how things work around here. I'm the one who decides who gets to see the Master. Call it a perk of my position. So far, you failed to convince me that you really need to see Lord Antidus. Master Feng assured me that his map is very valuable and that Lord Antidus will want to see it. It's Master Feng's job to assure people that their junk is valuable, and it's my job to get proper tributes from those who seek an audience. Am I getting through here? I can use your help. In exchange, I'll let you in and even put in a good word for you. Don't you have your own people? You know, my people are valuable, while you, to put it bluntly, are not. Don't worry, I'm a good judge of talent. Since I don't see any, your task will be relatively simple. House Aurelian is digging into some old ruins not far from Tehran. Apparently, it was an old mining facility and some machines are still intact. They've even sent for Sorab, which is bad news. He's an expert on old machines. If it has gears, he can fix it. We can't have that. Just the last thing we need is the Aurelian setting up shop in our backyard. So what do you want me to do? Whatever it takes to stop them. Killing always works, but if it's too plebeian for your sophisticated taste, try something else. Alright, is there anything else I can help you with? Well, if you didn't like the first problem, you're definitely not going to like the second one. A gang of raiders captured one of our nobles, so why don't you go there and find out what the raiders want. Didn't they tell you? It's a funny story, actually. A few days ago, a raider walked in and started making demands, claiming his gang had captured a lord. We didn't take the bastard seriously and used him for target practice. Then it turned out that some distant relative of Lord Antidus is really missing, but it was too late. Now my men aren't very eager to go there and pay the blood debt. You're just sending me there? It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Very generous of you. Alright, I'll give it a shot. So yeah, amusingly, there is a fun 4D chess solution to both of these problems, and Carlamus here is actually built for that. And that changes how we would approach Tehran in this case, because we would want to do the social stuff first before we tried our hand at any fighting, because we just don't have the skills to survive that. So you're almost doing things in reverse from our combat build. Anyway, let us switch back to Carlicia, further along in her journey. Now, at this point in the game, we've gotten through the bullshit early game stuff, and we're ready to lock in. She's got a reputation not just for killing dudes, which we have killed quite a few dudes, but facing legit challenges with violence. This is about when the game starts getting more fair. The early faction fights are actually easier than a lot of the side activities, and also we have much better gear. We've even learned a few things about alchemy, so our weapons are now poisoned, and we have some custom work going into our equipment. That said, our armor could use a touching up, so let me get that fixed real quick. Now, as discussed in the intro, the Empire is no more, so the Guard is mostly a freestanding army that just keeps the peace between the noble houses. Actually, they are over here. It's an uneasy truce, always kind of in danger of flaring into open conflict, and the Guard has its own political ambitions. You see the Imperial Guard's barracks that look like a small fort. A recruitment poster says, "Join the army, see the world, meet interesting people, and kill them." Hard to say no when they put it like that. But yeah, the Guard has its own ambitions, which we're about to become a part of. Observe. You're standing in front of the Imperial Guard's barracks. The building is well fortified. By the looks of it, the fort is designed to hold off enemy forces attacking from inside the town. State your business, demands one of the guards. I want to join the Imperial Guards. It's your lucky day then, we're hiring. You go inside and join the other 2 recruits, patiently waiting in the training yard. When 2 more recruits show up, the guards close the gate and take their positions. The door leading into the main building opens, and a centurion steps out into the training yard. He inspects the recruits in silence, shaking his head every now and then. Excuse me. I suppose we can't expect better quality from a shithole like Tehran, can we? Asked the centurion, addressing nobody in particular. Listen up, you apes. Lucky for you, you finally made the right choice. It's the only choice a fighting man can make. To join the Imperial Guards. We are the backbone of the Empire. For more than 1,000 years, we've been making real fighters out of local scum, whose idea of a good fight is to backstab someone. Of course, you boys set a new low standard for local scum, but our commander needs some new faces for a mission you're about to get. A trading caravan from Madoran will arrive today. When the caravan reaches the gate, it will stay there for a few hours until the bean counters estimate the cargo and negotiate the levies. At this point, you will attack them from the outside, dressed as raiders. Do you understand the orders? Why do we have to act like raiders attacking our own people? I do not think that you're grasping the nature of our relationship just yet. We are the army. We tell you what to do, and you do it fast and in an efficient manner. Without, I repeat, without asking idiotic questions to satisfy your thirst for knowledge. If you like to question everything, do it elsewhere. So one more time. Dress as raiders, you'll be given the gear shortly. Then, move into position, wait for the caravan to arrive, attack, and once sufficient casualties are inflicted, fall back. Are you clear? Yes. Alright, so we're about to do some crimes. It takes you a while to circle around the town. By the time you get to the gate, the caravan is already there. Slaves are unloading the crates, while the merchants are negotiating the levies with the guards sent to inspect the merchandise. One of the slaves notices you and yells, "Raiders!" pointing in your direction. The merchants drop everything and run for the gate, followed by the slaves. The guards and the mercenaries move forward, ready to meet you. 2 men in your group split and go after the merchants, leaving you the easy targets to deal with. Alright. Now this is a rare case where we actually have a chance to get situated before we begin. As soon as we start combat, everybody will take positions and start sequencing. If we move forward enough, we will initiate. And in this case, we actually have good enough block skill that we should be able to reliably tank. So let us advance. These guys will do pretty good damage, but we are outnumbered. So it's a good idea to draw some aggro and kind of hold the line here. So let us move up. We'll ding this guy. As you can see, we have a much better base chance of hitting here, and with our weapons poisoned, we'll be doing damage over time. And given the relatively low hit point totals that we're always working with, every point matters, and being able to bleed enemies or poison them is incredibly valuable. Alright, so let's ding you as well. Alright. Now, we're surrounded, but our block should be good enough that this won't be much of an issue. Ah, motherfucker, critical strike. Okay, every now and then, they get lucky and the RNG hits you hard. This is absolutely that kind of game. What we can do is get us some breathing room. We'll throw down a firewall here. That'll do some free damage and separate people. Being on fire doesn't actually do damage over time, rather annoyingly. But this does scatter them and act as a physical barrier for a couple rounds, which is very useful if you're surrounded or if you're more of a ranged fighter. Now we're bleeding. Damn it. We might well have to redo this fight, but we'll see. See if we can hold it together. Now, interestingly, you saw that arrow actually went towards that guard and he blocked it. Ranged attacks do have a small percentage to hit someone else in the path of their intended target, so if you're fighting a ranged enemy, it's not a terrible idea to put others between you and them. Now, it's rare that they'll actually cause damage, but it's a good way to make them waste shots. Alright. Now, poison usually lasts for about 3 rounds, so if we want to be absolutely... Hey, down he goes. That's 2 down. If we wanted to maximize... Oh, shit. Okay, we're down to 5 points here. We're going to need to ice this dude quickly. Unfortunately, he's a shifty fella. Nice, good hit. Hey, perfect. Alright, you know what, we'll let them deal with this guy, and we'll go deal with the merchant. We should be able to trash him. Block has a pretty big advantage against range attacks, and this is a case where the specifics of your equipment matter. There are varieties of shields you can equip, and some of them have much better block rating against incoming ranged attacks in exchange for slowing you down and making it harder for you to hit. This is absolutely a game that thinks carefully about its equipment and the subtle nuances between different types of blade, never mind different types of weapon. Or different categories of weapon, I should say. Alright, almost got this guy down. Actually, I think he might die on the next turn. So let's go ahead and wait. There we go. Poison kicks in. Move over here. All we gotta do is get behind this guy and we're golden. Ah! Now see, that's the unique quirk of spear builds. They actually get a chance to interrupt incoming enemies and make them waste action points trying to get close. A pretty viable weapon. I'm out, says one of the recruits. If I wanted to rob caravans, I would have joined the raiders. He throws down a blood-covered weapon and walks away. The other recruit follows him. Alright. Now, Carlicia has learned some alchemy in her time, so we're going to make some healing salve here. Do we have... Bugger, I don't think we do. We don't have items for healing salve. Awesome. Well, this is going to be a very interesting encounter when we get back. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and loot the merchant here. Not a lot of money, but plenty of vendor trash. Might as well take back everything we can as well. Yeah, here are these, here's this armor we got from House Daratan, totally ethically sourced. Ask no questions, Mr. Merchant Man. Alright, back to the barracks. Hey, Carlicia, wait for us. You glance back and see the recruits who went after the merchants. They're seemingly enjoying the life of an Imperial Guard, thus far. Just another day protecting the good people of Tehran. As they get closer, you hear shouts coming from the town. Very soon, this place will be swarming with Daratan guards. You best not be here when they come looking for blood and vengeance. Good job. The merchants just left. They begged us to do everything in our power to protect Tehran. Helping citizens in need is what the Imperial Guards are all about, so we will do everything in our power, and power is something we don't lack. There's one little problem, though. The merchant said the 2 raiders got away, so we need to produce 2 bodies they'll recognize. In other words, we can take only one of you in. Whoever kills the other 2 first gets the job. Feel free to start any time. Kill the other 2? Is something wrong with your hearing, girl? What we have here are 3 farmers who think they could be soldiers. We need 1 new recruit and 2 bodies to show the merchants. It really doesn't get any simpler than this, does it? Centurion turns to one of the guards holding a crossbow. Count to 3 and shoot someone. I don't have all day. Alright, so now we have another fight. These guys are also wounded, and if we step back, they will happily itchy and scratchy each other for us. We'll just go ahead and enjoy our tea while this problem sorts itself out. So yeah, because every encounter is bespoke and carefully crafted, every one of them is mechanically unique in some way, and usually serves to tell the story about the world and the characters in it. It all paints a picture of this bleak, cynical environment that is just barely hanging on to life. Looks like this guy... Actually, this guy might win as well. We are not making recruiting targets for the quarter like this. Alright, he's down. Let's go ahead and kill Steel. Alright, he should die instantly next turn. Nope, he's way too strong. Alright, so he actually had the constitution to tank through that. Interesting. Alright, 1 more hit then. Beautiful. Look at the dead body sprawled around you and the blood slowly spreading on the ground. An unfortunate turn of events, but better them than you. Well, 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 the Centurion signals, and the other guards start stripping the bodies of their armor and weapons. To be honest, I thought it was going to be the other guy, but I like surprises. Welcome to the Imperial Guards, the only home you'll ever need. Go inside and see Shorty about some armor. He's our quartermaster. Rest and report back to me. I will. Alright. The new recruit. Welcome to the family. Shorty gives you new armor and your pay. And we rest. Alright. Now we're all ready for an exciting adventure as the Imperial Guards. Now, this doesn't make the rest of the factions go apeshit, but as you can see, we're starting to lose favor with the houses. We actually were decent with Duratin, but we're starting to lose the points there, and Aurelian isn't too fond of us either for reasons that will show up later in the game. But on the plus side, we're getting more and more of our body count skill up, and this actually is something you can occasionally use to intimidate people. There's one encounter here where going for a kebab has a pickpocket grab your money and run into town, and they run for a guard for protection. And if you try to fight them, you can kill them, get your money back, but eventually more guards show up and try to shake you down. And if you fight them, it's kind of a no-win situation because they overwhelm you eventually. And it's a difficult fight notwithstanding. There are very few fights that you're guaranteed that you must lose, but some of them have fatal consequences unless you play along. But anyway, one option to get out of that without losing your money is the body count, and that will convince the guard that you mean business and say, look, fuck this, you're on your own. Anyway, let's see what the guard are up to for their next quest. We'll be shifting gears again shortly. Are you ready for your next assignment? Yes. Good. Get in line and wait for Commander Karanas. Commander Marcus Karanas learned his trade in numerous battles with barbarians and renegade houses. His tactics lacked finesse, but showed strength and willingness to fight no matter the odds, giving Karanas the nickname the Bull. The reward for his most recent battle had been promotion to the rank of Legatus Legionis. I'm going to be tripping over these, I apologize, and a deep shoulder wound that had never healed properly. Despite his protests, Karanas was sent to Tehran to prevent Antitas from doing anything stupid. Since the Bull had always preferred permanent solutions to problems, he started training new recruits without delay. We've received a formal complaint from the Merchants Guild. It appears that the local militia is no longer able to protect the town, watching helplessly as raiders, thieves, and other scum attack in broad daylight. Although the rules prevent us from getting involved in the affairs of noble houses, I believe this situation gives us no choice but to get involved. Tehran will not fall. I can promise you that much. The Centurion assigns you a 5-man unit, led by a Decanus, legionary in charge of a small unit. From what you've heard, Decani usually commanded 10-man units, but things are different today. Alright, boys, you heard the commander. We're taking over, one tower at a time, he grins. Once we control the perimeter, the gate and the towers, Tehran is ours. House Duratin will be under siege and cut off. I'll be surprised if they last a week. Now, your task is to capture this tower. He marks it on the map. Inform the local guards that their services are no longer required. If they resist, kill them. Dismissed. Your unit marches through town. Sensing your purpose, the townsfolk clear the streets. Your target is an old 2-story stone tower built into the town wall. There are 2 guards near the ground floor entrance and 2 guards patrolling the wall's battlements which go through the tower. The Decanus stops, pushes out his chest, and says in a loud, theatrical voice, "We hereby order you to put down your weapons," and a well-aimed crossbow bolt hits him in the neck just above the armor, interrupting the speech and throwing him backwards. The captain of the Duratin guards lowers his crossbow and steps back inside the tower, arrogantly considering the matter settled. His men on the ground raise their shields, waiting for your next move. The archers on the battlements are stringing their longbows. It doesn't look good. For a moment, your unit is frozen with shock. It happened too fast and without any warning. Then the arguing starts. Some men urge to attack, being more terrified of reporting the failure than of the local guards. Some insist on going back to get some reinforcements. It's clear that there isn't a single veteran in the group. While you're considering the situation, a decision is made to attack the tower, no matter the odds. I have a better idea. You start your speech with, "We'll lose most men, if not all, in the frontal assault." It gets everyone's attention. The men on the ground will keep us from getting into the tower, while the archers in the battlements will rain arrows from above. We won't stand a chance. We need to get to the battlements and attack from above. It'll put the archers at a disadvantage and would take the swordsmen a while to reach us. However, you finally get to the most important point. Someone needs to distract the guards and keep them busy, while the rest of us scale the walls. So because we've got a reputation for solving things with combat, this impresses people, and one is willing to step up and be a distraction. Otherwise, this would be a role we'd have to volunteer for ourselves. So you can see the little things we did do earlier in the game start to pay out in big ways and open up options that might otherwise be hidden. This game excels at providing consequences to go with your decisions. Anyway, so this guy's going to step in and tank while we rush the tower and deal with the guards inside. In this case, we actually have a pretty good odds of fighting these guys. So there's the most dangerous unit there. We've got 3 Imperial buddies here and 3 enemies to deal with, while a hammer and shield guy down here holds off these 2. And he's a big burly fellow, so he can last for a good while. But this is the start of the Imperial Guard's ambition, and it ends with literally killing Antidus in his own throne room. There's a diplomatic solution there, but that's just not Carlicia's build. But yeah, it's an example of just how quickly the game's plots can go from like 0 to 100, and involving you killing a whole lot of people you might not have meant to when you started. So let's switch gears again and see what Carlamus is doing with his life. Now, Carlamus is pretty far along on his journey of self-discovery, and this is going to land him to the Assassin's Guild, the Boatmen of Styx. Now, they were also a former Imperial regiment, essentially the state security and targeted murder services, and when the Empire went belly up, they turned private sector and now function as a fully legal source of conflict resolution. For the right fee, you can pay to just have a problem killed. The target, of course, has the right to fight the assassin and hire assassin right back if they survive. All the fun of decadence indeed. Fittingly, our crossbow build now functions like Bronze Age John Wick. Our heavy crossbow is a good opening argument. Our hand crossbow lets us squeeze out additional shots even in close quarters. Our arrows are poisoned, so there's damage added to every shot. Yeah, Morag Tong Life. That's basically what they do. So yeah, we hit from range where we can, stay mobile, and we use more firebombs. We use firebombs, which we don't currently have, and explosives to give us some breathing room in tight quarters. Anyway, let us talk to the Guildmaster, Nelios here. What can I do for you? I need a job. I've heard a lot about you, Carlamus. You aren't shy when it comes to killing, which is the attitude we're looking for. Are you interested? Of course. Stick around and I'll introduce you to the others. Doesn't take long for the other guild members to show up. Diaz, a rising star in the guild, greets you with a nod. If someone needs to die and there's no room for mistakes, the job usually goes to Diaz. If he lives long enough, he'll be running the guild one day. Colton inquires about your health and offers a potion to fix you up. It's his favorite joke. He's an alchemist, but the potions he makes tend to poison people or blow them up. Agatai gives you a blank stare. His upwardly slanted eyes show no emotions. He might as well be looking through you. Agatai doesn't say much unless he has to, or unless he's drunk. Look alive, boys, Nelios' voice brings you back. There are people in this fine town who need killing. Diaz, an Aurelian envoy, is expected to arrive today and deliver an ultimatum to Lord Antidus. A bloody accident should befall him before he reaches Tehran. Colton, your expertise in poison is required in a delicate family situation. Nelios goes on and on, explaining their jobs in detail. Carlamus, there's a small house near the gate on the left side. It's hard to find a better location to keep track of people entering and leaving Tehran. I've been informed that the occupant of the house is a guest who arrived this morning to collect the reports. Kill them both as a lesson to others before the day is over. Any questions? Are you sure they're spies? No, I'm not. They wouldn't be good spies if everyone was sure about them, would they? Payment? 40 Imperials per body, plus 100 Imperials for the reports, if you manage to recover them. Alright. Let's rock and roll. Actually, let's bump up dodge here. Why not? A lot of the fights in Tehran are in tight quarters, which is what makes a ranged build so difficult. But we'll show more or less how it works when we go in here. And we'll actually be at a slight advantage because we'll be armored and they will not. Anyway, you enter the house. What you see gives the word poor a new meaning. The house hasn't been maintained in decades. The wood is dark and rotten. The furniture is falling apart. The smell matches the visuals. A sickly old man lies on the only bed, being tended to by a young woman. Clad in shabby garments, only a shade cleaner than her surroundings, she looks at you with tears in her eyes and says, "My father. He must be dying." Alright. Well, against our better judgment, let's get closer. Let's see. What happened to him? I don't know. He's had a bad cough for a while, but lately he's been coughing up blood and constantly shivering. We don't have any money to pay the healer. She looks at you with hope. Does anyone else live here? Just me and my dad. Are you looking for someone? I know everyone who lives in this area. I'm looking for 2 people. They're probably not from around here. I have a message for them. The old man makes a rattling, gurgling sound and weakly gestures for you to come closer. Suddenly you realize everything about this situation is a bit too pat. You're off guard and relaxed. Too relaxed. You draw your weapon quickly to see how the pair reacts. The man springs from the bed in a lightning-quick motion, dagger in hand. His daughter produces a small crossbow from beneath the bed and points it at your head. Alright, off we go. So yeah, heavy crossbows have a range restriction. You cannot be right next to your target. So we're going to step back a little bit, which does give him an attack of opportunity, but also lets us get a clean shot at him. Nice and easy. And ranged weapons do heavy damage to offset the liability in melee. So they synergize very well with alchemy. The main problem is they're difficult to reload in combat. The hand crossbow we can reload for just 3 action points, but the heavy crossbow takes 5, or 6 actually. So, alright, we'll go ahead and load another poison arrow. So you need a solution for enemies that are going to try to get in your face. However, because they're poisoned, time is on our side. We'll go ahead and reload one more time here. And we'll doink you. Oh! Critical strike. Down she goes. Alright. One nice little feature is you can push enemies back if you want to take your chances or if you just backed into a corner. Now, he's up against the barrier there. There's nowhere for him to go. But you do have options if you are absolutely stuck in a corner with no way out. And there are actually special maneuvers with other weapons that let you, like, quickly switch places with a target or knock them back. This game focuses highly on your mobility in tight quarters and reminds me a little bit of fights in tight spaces, the way it's designed. So he's almost dead. One more bolt should do it. We'll just use a regular one this time. Damn. Alright, let's just push you back real quick. Ah, damn it didn't work. Alright. Actually, that's probably impassable there. Yeah, that wouldn't help. Alright, we'll just sidestep. Sidestep. Wait. Oh, did I not reload? Oh, that's right, I have push selected. There's definitely some UI jank you need to get used to. But as you get further in, a lot of this stuff becomes second nature. Alright, you start searching the house when the door opens, admitting a visitor. It's a young man in an old, dirty tunic. He looks like a beggar, but he has the bearing of a soldier. The man sees the dead bodies, and his hand goes to a sword he isn't wearing. He shrugs and smiles, acknowledging his disadvantage. I work for House Aurelian. Help me, and the most powerful house will be in your debt. Kill me, and you'll get a few hundred coins at most. Right. Hand me the reports, and I'll let you live. Interestingly, you can agree with him, and this will sequence break and take you through the rest of the Tehran chapter with no further input, jumping straight to Madoran with a reputation bonus for House Aurelian. The trade-off is you won't get the benefits for doing any of the quest stuff here. So we're going to stick to our job here. Hand me the reports and I'll let you live. Why should I trust you? Because recovering the reports is more important than killing you. The lesson has already been taught. Do I have your word? Yes. Very well. The spy retrieves the documents from a secret compartment in the floor, the last place anyone would look for something valuable, and gives them to you. Alright, off you go. That actually increases our word of honor, which is another social stat that tracks how well you keep your word once it's given. It's not necessarily whether you're a nice person, it's more whether you will do what you say you do. Anyway, so how... Delios looks at you expectantly, his expression unreadable. How did it go? 2 dead spies, plus the reports. Good job, Carlamus. 80 for the spies, 100 for the reports. The client will be very pleased. He looks at your blood-soaked bandages. You must learn to kill faster. Agatai, spend some time with him, will you? Beautiful. Alright. So that gives us a nice little skill buff there. And we can briefly talk to our buddies over here. These guys have a bit more character than the Imperial Guards. There aren't quite as many supporting characters, but there it's more further in that you start meeting important people and getting more of a say and understanding more people. Anyway, let's talk to Agatai here. Can you teach me how to fight like you? Agatai nods. Kill 27 men. Hard men, not men who live like women. Uh-huh, yeah, I'm sure that goes over well. And then you'll teach me? Then you'll know what I know. Each man you kill teaches you something. Tell me about the Ordu. The Ordu, Agatai sneers, are everything this town is not. Why are you here then? Strange question. Why is anyone here? Don't tell me you like this shithole. Alright. What about DS? Send another one across the river? Smiles DS. Any advice for me? Hone your skills. It's you against your targets, and the prize for second place in this contest is a tombstone. Remember that and hone your skills every chance you get. Doesn't take much to kill a man. It's a lot harder to kill 3 and still have enough staying power to take care of a 4th. My hardest fight was against a 14-year-old kid. I offed his paw quietly, but his bodyguard surprised me. When I was done with them, I was barely able to stand. Then this kid walks in. The fight must have woken him up. He takes one look at his paw lying there with his throat cut from ear to ear, grabs a sword from the floor, and runs at me, yelling something. He could have had me, but he slipped on the blood and I nailed him to the floor. Yeah, look at this posh chap. He expects a tombstone. Yeah, no kidding. You'll get your mass grave and you like it. Alright. Colton, why don't you tell me your little character blurb here? Greetings, says Colton with a slight bow. Are you interested in science or merely fascinated by bright lights? Bit of both. Can you teach me anything? I can't teach you what you already know, says Colton, smiling apologetically, but I can certainly share my humble supplies with you. Gives you some cordura leaves, several cassava roots, rare quicksilver root, and a vial containing a rather potent mix of liquid fire. There we go. That's what I was looking for earlier. Alright. This, by the way, is the quote-unquote amulet that the prospector was selling at the inn. So we can't really tell what it is. Our character can't really tell, but if you take a very close look at it, you can see it kind of looks like a gas mask. More on that later. We'll see if we can touch on that before we close the stream out. But this is an example of the game's writing at its strongest, where it's painting a picture in words that the character you're playing doesn't understand, but you, the player, might if you actually see the picture, if you can see what it's depicting. So this is a game that absolutely leverages some meta-knowledge, so you have an idea of its purpose, even if you, the character, need certain skills to actually make use of it. Anyway, let's talk to Nelios for our next job. Carlamus, says Nelios with a smile. Ready to put some people on the ground? Always. You're working tonight, Carlamus. For some reasons, Nelios seems troubled. Go get ready if you want to see sunrise again. You have a feeling of impending doom. Better get ready. Alright. So we are loaded. We've got our firebombs. Might as well get good at crossbowing. Tell me what this job is about. We've got a new contract. It's a 2-man job, not your usual kill my pa so I can inherit the farm contract, but something that goes back to our guild's origins before the Empire fell. Tonight, we'll take out Commander Marcus Karanas. The client is generous. He'll be paid 500 Imperials on completion. So yeah, we are going after the commander of the Imperial Guard. And if you read between the lines here, it is entirely because he's plotting his coup attempt against Lord Antidus. Now listen carefully. Karanas has been very active lately. Something is definitely up, so a decision has been made to retire him and leave the Imperial Guard's affairs to a less capable commander. Karanas is meeting 2 guests at the inn tonight. A room next to the one where the meeting will take place has been rented by a merchant who will be unavoidably delayed, which will give you free access to his room. Several small holes have been drilled through the wall connecting both rooms, enough for a crossbow bolt to go through. Kill Karanas and leave quickly before his guards realize what happened. It's a very delicate matter, so you can't leave the guild until it's time to go. I have everything you need right here. Key to the room, some rope. I wouldn't recommend using the stairs after, as you use the window. 2 crossbows and 10 steel armor-piercing bolts, and some merchant robes to avoid attracting attention. Any question? What happens afterwards? Will the guard come after us? It's been understood for ages that it's clients who kill, using our expertise in life-taking craft. We're weapons, wielded by others, nothing more. As long as parties involved see it this way and go after the clients, we maintain our neutrality and stay out of everyone's way. Unless they hire us again, of course. It's fair game to kill assassins if they're caught, but the guild is off limits. We wouldn't be able to operate openly otherwise. Let's get to it. Specks of dust drift silently through twin beams of light coming from 2 holes in the wall, the only illumination into the darkened room. Diaz points his crossbow points at his crossbow and the holes. You look through one of the holes and see Karanas talking to another man. You don't have a perfect shot, but you doubt that you would miss when you're this close. You're pretty sure Diaz won't. Karanas is as good as dead now, which means a lot of things. It's time to make a decision. So yeah, if we wanted to betray the guild and switch sides to the Imperial Guard, we could do this here. So there's a lot of places where the story forks and twists, and you're allowed to shift gears, betray allegiances, and very much play the part of a free agent who jumps ship. There are consequences for doing this, but sometimes an offer is just too good to miss. But this time we're going to be a good little employee and stick to the plan. Diaz aims his crossbow, looks at you, and nods. You pull the trigger and your bolt hits Karanas in the shoulder, spinning him around before Diaz's bolt slams into his chest and throws him across the room. Wasting no time, Diaz grabs the rope and jumps out the window, sliding down. Out we go. You land softly in the alley behind the inn when the guards raise the alarm. Several guards enter the alley from the side and move slowly, searching for any signs of the assassins. Diaz disappears into the darkness, moving soundlessly. Staying in the shadows and making no sound, you move like a ghost. The guards pass several feet from you without detecting your presence. You finally reach the safety of the guild. Nelio smiles, welcoming you back, but the smile doesn't last long. You hear angry shouts in the alley behind you. Turning around, you see flaming arrows flying through the darkness toward your guild. Instantly, the roof catches fire, illuminating the alley. You see a group of Imperial guards preparing to charge. A larger group approaches from the north. Colton, take Fulvio and Carlamus to take care of the guards in the alley. We'll deal with the other group and keep them away from you. You follow Colton outside. The guards are advancing slowly, clearly expecting an ambush. Colton glances at the heavy armor and replaces a standard bolt with an armor-piercing one. You just gonna stand there? He asks calmly and pulls the trigger. So yeah, this is the brilliance of the writing, because all these various faction plots are happening all at once. The Imperial Guard is planning a coup. Antitas doesn't have the manpower for open war, so he needs the guard captain killed. Actually, yep. Go ahead and reload here. Looks like they messed with our inventory slightly. But yeah, the plan to kill Karanas goes through the Commercium, who hires the boatman, us, and the 40 thieves, who we didn't really interact with much, try to pinch the money, which foils the payment. All these go off without you, but you're the X factor that gets it done. These factions move, counter-move, and have their own internal squabbles you have to navigate. Alright, so let's see if we can put this guy down. There's actually quite a few of these guys. So, we do not have eyes on him. We do have eyes on these fellas. A pretty good shot here. Nice, good hit. Actually, what we're going to do, we will switch out the firewall for our black powder bombs here. If you need to do inventory actions, this will tell you over here what the AP cost is before committing. Once you do, you spend the action points and the changes are locked in. So it is possible to switch stuff around, you just need to have points free to do it. Now, we're all crossbow users here, and we don't have a tank, but we do have good armor and pretty high dodge skill, so we should be okay. But we're going to soften these guys up with a bomb anyway. Not a great hit, but every little bit helps. Let's spread some of the pain around. That guy's got a tower shield. This guy, however, has no shield. Damn it. Just enough action points to do this one more time. There we go. This is absolutely a game where it is a good idea to focus enemies down, but a poison build helps spread out the damage while you're trying to bring down a particular target. Let's reload. And let us doink. This guy, actually, he should die in 2 turns once the poison works through. And we don't want to do that much damage because we can better use that on other targets. So there we go. We do need some to be able to get through to the enemy. And yeah, we'll save that just in case. Alright, so now we're basically dodge tanking. Nice. So yeah, the further in you get, the more your niche builds like this become viable. Now there's not a lot of there's not a lot of stacking debuffs in this except with bleeding. It doesn't help you much to keep doing poison damage to a target unless the poison has worn off. All it really does is extend the timer. But with bleeding, it's possible to make bleeding stacks worse and worse until they're bleeding out a good portion of their health every turn. And that's one of the advantages of the sword build. Let's actually switch to a piercing ammo. Put piercing arrow here. That does a little bit better. This is absolutely a game where armor matters. Nice, good pushback. Alright. This guy is almost dead. Actually, let's doink him once. Damn it. Okay, let's doink him again. Son of a bitch. Shields matter in this game. Alright, thanks, DS. Actually, Fulvio, I'm sorry. Alright, let's see if we can take this guy down. In fact, we're gonna use a turn to get behind him. Can I not get there? Apparently not. Fantastic. Don't know. Oh, I ran out of action points. That's why. Uh-oh, he's kind of fucking up Colton there. We might lose him. And we're at the end of the chapter, so not a huge... actually, you know what? Here's what we'll do. We will deny him the approach and force him towards us. You don't gain a party in this game, but there are a lot of circumstances where you will have help. And sometimes you'll be tanking, and sometimes you'll be relying on others to hold the line. In this case, we were able to save Colton there and keep the fire on these guys. Almost got him. In fact, I think the poison will finish him. No, it won't. Not quite. Alright. One more shot should do it. Damn it. There we go. Thanks, Fulvio. I think it's safe to say that the guild is no longer off limits. His smile is back. It looks menacing. They've broken the rules and there's no going back now. We're lucky that only a few enraged guards showed up tonight. Tomorrow they'll come in full force to finish the job and we won't be able to stop them. We'll have no choice but to hit them first. Hit them first? Diaz interrupts suddenly. You want to hit their barracks? It's a suicide mission. Normally it would be, but tonight is different. Their commander died today, remember? Not only will they be caught off guard, but most men will be too drunk to hold a sword. Why are you doing this, Nelios? Sure, some guards took it too far. It's unfortunate. Hardly worth declaring war on the entire army. Acquire athlete's foot. Everything's a party when you're a fun guy. Oh, nice! Let it go, Nelios. Tomorrow will be a different day. The guards will wake up and face reality. Karnas is gone and his plans are gone with him. His officers will be too busy fighting for the recently vacated position to attack us. Let bygones be bygones. You're not a guildmaster yet, Diaz, so don't act like one. I too want to believe that tomorrow everything will go back to normal, but what if it doesn't? We slaughtered like rats here when the guards throw everything they have at us. Truth be told, I didn't want to take this contract, but what's done is done. Now, we have to finish it. Are you with me? Then everybody joins in, and so do we. So yeah, thus is the plan to literally assault the Imperial Guard's barracks and slaughter everybody. So because Colton survived, we get a bonus there. And this leads us into another fight, which we will not be showing tonight. But yeah, that is an example of the ways the plot branches, the different characters and backgrounds and factions and how they intertwine. And this game excels at making these decisions matter, putting some real differences in each of these groups and making these subtle differences in your characters have big consequences over the course of the game. The consequence of that, however, is an over-designed start that takes a lot of patience and effort to sweat through before you get to the actual interesting parts of the game. And that's kind of why I find Age of Decadence both fascinating and maddening. It's a brilliantly constructed game that is psychotically hard to get into and difficult to recommend for that reason. But there is another layer of brilliance right behind that, which is the setting. I'm going to show this real quick. I know we're running long, but I want to show this as an example of just how fucking crazy this gets. Now, you may have noticed a certain strangeness to the way people talk about the war. Are they being literal or figurative when they talk about the Magi and the apocalypse? Yeah, the flaming cliff of bears difficulty curve, exactly. It punches you in the face to start with, but if you adapt, if you can adapt, you learn how to avoid it and handle it much later on. But yeah, are people exaggerating when they talk about the Magi, or when they talk about demons, or is it code for high-tech stuff we don't really understand? The answer will surprise you, and there's a genuinely novel flavor of post-apocalyptia here. What we're going to is a guy named Clive in the middle of the adventure, sort of an adventurer archaeologist, a much more direct combat-focused lore master build. Yeah, reminds me of From the Depths. Step 1, get a degree in naval military engineering. So here we are at the Abyss, which is a location that Feng would have mentioned if we had pursued his background. If we had talked to him about his backstory. It is a part of the city of Madoran that was destroyed in the war, in the Great War. It looks very much like a crater from some sort of nuclear weapon, or the giant weapon of mass destruction, but there's a bit more going on as we go in. So, you may remember the amulet we found earlier. We now know, thanks to our skill, it is a respirator, a breathing apparatus of the Old Empire. When charged with magical energies, it allows you to breathe in toxic environments. So there's a degree of Warhammer 40k tech priest stuff going on here, where lore teaches you how to get old stuff working, but you don't really understand the properties of it. But anyway, we're going to go into this crater, because there is some weird stuff happening the deeper we go. And it's an example, a small taste of where the Age of Decadence is really going. The fog envelops you, so thick you can hardly see to place one foot in front of the other, and with it an absolute hush, leaving only the sound of your own breath. After your first couple steps, you begin to wonder how anyone can find their way at all, and as if responding to your thoughts, the fog begins to recede, allowing you to see at least some of your surroundings. The ground is as clean swept as a moneylender's sidewalk. Nothing here, not so much as a pebble, has been left unclaimed by fortune hunters. The path is easy enough to follow, and you keep walking until you're able to discern the mounds alongside you are bones. Not skeletons as such, but piles of disconnected human bones in such numbers you cannot even hazard an estimate of the number of dead. A sudden gust of wind dislodges a skull from its resting place and rolls it free on the ground. When the skull reaches a spot a few feet to your left, it stops as if caught and held by an unseen hand, then shatters, sending fragments of bone flying in all directions. Thanks to our high perception, we can see where to go from here, but obviously this location is not going to be accessible to everyone. The only object of interest is a big broken stone block protruding from the ground to your right. A barely visible letter M is scratched on its surface. You examine the area carefully, but fail to find any other letters. You have absolutely no idea what it means, but we go in that direction anyway. You follow the path for a while, and as you stumble on a broken column, half buried in the rubble, lightning strikes a few feet away, the instant clap of thunder deafening you. Blinking furiously, you stagger back as a white fireball appears, hovering in the air before you. A loud call in the distance. No kidding. For a moment, the entire area is flooded with eerie light, then it explodes. Deafened, blinded, burned, you manage to get up. After a careful search, you're convinced the only object of interest is the half-buried column, so we go in the direction that's pointing. You continue to pick your way through the rubble until your ears prick up at an unpleasant groaning sound ahead. You come upon an erect cross of heavy timber. A man is hanging from the structure on 4 great black nails, and he is alive, moaning loudly. "Kill me," begs the man. Looking down at the sudden weight pulling on your hand, you realize you're holding a sword. You lunge forward in a killing thrust, and the man falls free, as if magically released from his bonds. Slowly he gets up, taking a few unsteady steps, and walks off into the fog. Suddenly dizzy, you fall to your knees. Your eyes close for a moment, and when you open them, you are lying under the cross. Where the man had been, a skeleton now hangs. It is yellow with age, and has hung undisturbed for a very long time. You walk on until a grim shadow resolves into a cairn of skulls among ruins. As you come closer, you find your fears fading away, to be replaced by a deep, encompassing calm. "I envy them," a voice whispers to you from behind. You spin. Although you can see 100 meters behind you along the path, a man has somehow appeared only a few feet away. his manner as easy-going and relaxed, as if you were two travelers exchanging a few friendly words before continuing on your way. They have found peace, or peace has found them. Either way, what about you? What do you seek? Knowledge. The Magi were obsessed with knowledge. Where are they now? Are you suggesting men should better live in ignorance? Men should know their limits, but the best scholars never do. Without warning, the ground rumbles and begins to shake. The forbidding monument collapses, sending skulls skittering in every direction and throwing you to the ground. When you get up, the man is gone. Eventually you find the next mark. It looks like a crude drawing of a tree with two branches, both on one side. You have no idea what it means, but it's the only object of interest. Although the path is perfectly level, your breathing becomes strained and the air thick and heavy in your lungs. Weak and disoriented, head pounding, you're forced to stop. You vaguely recall that you're searching for some kind of mark, but you can't remember why. When you study your surroundings, you find that you can't focus on anything. The details of the landscape swirl around you, blending in a confused blur. Alright. Praying that the magic is still there, you put on the mask and take a deep breath. Nothing. So we're going to use a power tube that we got earlier to charge it. On the verge of losing consciousness, you grab the precious power tube with shaking fingers and push it into the right slot. Suddenly, the twin drums come to life, whirring and humming. At first you feel nothing at all, but within a few seconds, the pain goes down and it gets easier to breathe. The dizziness stops, and the swirling stop, and you see the last mark. After several more halting steps, the pressure suddenly ceases, and the fog melts away. You have arrived at the bottom of the crater. You aren't really sure what you expected to find, but discovering a cracked slab of concrete, opus caementicium, gotta love the Latin in this, does take you by surprise. From the juncture where the concrete disappears into the walls of the crater, you can see it was part of a much larger structure, a structure that was hidden deep beneath the city, and must have been the target of the attack. The crack is large enough for you to squeeze through. Dark hole in the bottom of a crater? Sign me up! You find yourself in a dark and cramped chamber, a reinforced sub-basement of the building destroyed during the attack. The walls were blackened in the disaster, and the floor is half buried in sand and rubble. In the middle of the room stands a massive, dented metal cylinder, made from an unfamiliar alloy. When your eyes get used to the darkness, you notice cables snaking out from the tank to the 4 machines, sitting in the 4 corners of the chamber. 3 are still and silent. 1 appears to be working. Although heavily damaged, the tank is sealed. There's a console on one side and a small glass aperture on the top. Clearing away as much as you can of the grime, you take a look inside. There's a body within, submerged in some murky liquid. Only the face is plainly visible, and it isn't human. The cranium is bulging and distorted, with a too low nasal bridge, deep, elongated eye sockets, a lipless mouth, and overall dark, leathery skin. You can't be certain, but there may be gills behind the rudimentary ears. The eyes themselves are black, opaque, and thankfully empty. If the creature is alive, it doesn't seem to be aware of your presence. Who are you? The eyes remain vacant, the body perfectly still as its tomb. The sudden sound of footsteps makes you spin around, and you flinch away from a painfully bright light. With an effort, you maintain your balance, and opening your eyes, you find yourself standing in the middle of the desert, the sole feature of note being a tall man standing before you. He is dressed in rich robes and has a black beard and dark, intelligent eyes that study you intently. You glance behind to find nothing but endless desert. "Are you ready?" asks the man. "Excellent," nods the man, ignoring your question. "The path you'll have to walk won't be easy, but I know that you will do well and endure the trials. We wouldn't have chosen you otherwise." Your chest swells with pride you didn't feel a moment ago, and your body moves on its own accord, and you salute. The man nods again, pleased with your reaction. "Who are you?" "Soon," smiles the man. Like a marionette, you feel your strings being pulled by some other entity, making you follow a script you do not understand. Your body, strong as it is, will need to be made stronger to hold the gift. The wards will have to be tattooed deep into your skin. I know that soldiers aren't strangers to tattoos, but this one will be different. It will be painful. More painful than you can comprehend. But you are a soldier, Galath. You know better than anyone that there is no gain without pain, and you will have to gain a lot. In the next instant, you find yourself returned to the grim darkness of the cellar. The creature in the tank shows no more sign of life than before. "Why did you show it to me?" The light winks out for a moment, leaving complete darkness, and when it returns, you are walking down a hall towards a much larger chamber, the largest you have ever seen. The murmur of conversation stills at your approach, and when you enter, the great crowd awaiting you stands in perfect quiet ranks. Behind them, the walls are covered in pipes and gauges and dials, an unfathomable labyrinth of copper and glass. The device, whatever it is, makes the only sound, a deep and menacing throb you can feel through the soles of your feet. You are overcome with a childlike awe that is somehow not your own. Alongside another person's disbelief at being chosen, you wonder, chosen for what? Yeah, that's transhumanism. Oh, just wait, Mirage. As crazy as this is getting, it gets crazier still. So yeah, this is just going through some kind of ritual that we don't have any context for. But the implication is that the guy we had a vision about is what is now in the tank. So yeah, the creature in the tank shows no more sign of life than before. What are you? Your body floats in a void endless and absolute, a darkness beyond light or hope. Your mind dreams. You have dreamed for a very long time, months or perhaps years. The dreams are vivid, alien, often terrifying, and very real. If not for their outlandish nature, you would not be certain they are dreams at all. At the end of this eternity, you are awakened. You scream in torment as a vital part of you is torn free and discarded, not from your body, but from your very soul. The agony is unbearable, the wound fatal. You feel the cold of deepest night. You are dying, or at least part of you is. But another part seems to be waking. You open your eyes and find yourself closely confined. You see the inside of a tank filled with water, a tiny window above. Unfamiliar faces look down at you through the glass. They are smiling to each other, pleased. You reach toward them, but not with your hand. You are reaching with your mind, with pure will, with an instinct that is not your own, that is not, in fact, human. Alright, so this is a major discovery down here, and it is completely optional. It's not connected to the main storyline at all, but it is incredibly important lore with respect to the deeper goings-on. Now, you might be asking, how much can we do with this mystery creature in the tank? A lot. Examine the console. The console is beyond your understanding, so you place your faith in the mantras. Of course, the problem with mantras is you have no way to know which one will apply. You try the mantra of suspending the ordinary functioning of, which you thought was a safe bet until you realize it requires you to replace one function with another. Next, you try the mantra of divine guidance, only to realize midway that you're missing the famed golden arrows to which it frequently refers. With desperation hanging over you like a dark cloud, you finally decide to attempt the mantra of actions and reactions. This bloated text has been enlarged by generations of philosophers eager to add their mark to history, and for this reason is ignored by more reputable lore masters. Just as you are working through the last instructions of the mantra of actions and reactions, the console begins to respond. So basically we are literally just turning knobs and dials on this thing, hoping to get a reaction. By following the directives in the correct order, you believe you can either initiate these reactions within the 3 dead machines, or power down the last working machine. So, let's fire it up! Reciting the words as you go along, you follow the steps until one of the machines rattles to life with a loud pitching noise, which eventually settles into a deep hum. As you are not, in fact, tech priesting. Yeah, we're just making it up as we go. We barely understand what we're doing, never mind why. Alright. As newly augmented power flows into the tank, something else starts pouring out. Images, visions, memories are flooding your mind. At one moment, you are standing on a battlefield of long ago, men around you dying by the thousands, and you are the one exterminating them. Though you are not physically present, you are seeing them in your mind and striking them down from far away. Next, you're experiencing the agony of losing that vital part of you that was never yours. Let's activate another one. More power flows into the tank and more visions flow out, but you're no longer sure they are visions. As the chamber shakes and debris showers down from the ceiling, the agony of the creature in the tank becomes more real than ever. You fall to your knees. You are bleeding from the nose and trying to crawl away. You are crawling over piles of corpses, recently killed and still bloody. You're crawling towards something. A sarcophagus? A tank? A pyramid in a beam of light against a black sky? You no longer know where you are or what is real. The pain is the one thing that is undoubtedly genuine. It rushes over you, each wave worse than the one before, until you are submerged. You feel like you're being born, reborn, made anew by someone or something that cares little about what you're feeling, or even whether you will live through it. One more machine. As the last device powers up and adds its hum to the others, the waves of agony coming from the tank become stronger still. Then abruptly, the pain is gone. The visions continue, but your mind has gone numb to the torment emerging from the thing in the tank. You are looking down at Madoran from high above, watching the city from an invisible peak somewhere above the abyss, and you are full of an all-consuming, inexplicable rage. The only thing you had wished for was peace, yet it was always denied to you. The city is the source of your torment. The city and its ever-growing thousands, crawling like insects through your brain, poisoning your sleep with their endless questions and thoughts and worries. Your rage overwhelms you and you lash out. When your fury is unleashed, it is not in the form of a fist or a sword or spear, but something larger, something huge, immensely powerful and beautiful. Where buildings, where entire districts once stood, now there is dust. Where men and children lived, bloody stains. Their screams in your mind are like music, for they are not the actual cries of dying thousands, but better, the final tortured thoughts of the city, which has troubled your peace for the last time. You lash out again and again, until the loose bricks and mountains of rubble are perfect in their silence, and then the fog descends, slowly covering all. The swift and merciless destruction of Madoran by an unknown force strikes terror into every heart. The millennia-old city, once a symbol of the resilience of mankind in the face of catastrophe, was extinguished like a candle, without warning or reason, leaving behind nothing but shallow ruins beneath a deadly mist. Vindicated at last, Lord Meru's rhetoric reaches a fever pitch, and new followers flock to him, desperately seeking someone to save them from impending divine judgment. Others, unconvinced by stories of wrathful deities, speak in hushed, fearful tones of the Magi and the Great War, of the dread powers they unleashed on the world. Powers terrible enough to shatter even the greatest empire the world had ever known. Unwittingly, you manage to wake up the god that slept beneath the abyss. Maddened by centuries spent in the tank, the creature lashed out at the human hive around it, destroying the entire city. Well done! And yet, because we succeeded in Constitution, we live. Beyond the embers of your dying campfire, you first mistook the lights of the holy city for a new constellation, so high they were above the horizon. Over the next 2 days, the craggy profile of Castle Genezar sets the caravan's course, as if it were a lighthouse guiding you across the plain. The city's magic and mystery fades, however, as you get closer. The famous citadel squats grim and unadorned atop its massive hill, with the city arranged in cascading levels on the slopes beneath, like rings of fungus choking out the last vestiges of life from a ruined tree. Right, so somehow we survived destroying an entire city. This closes off every single quest and faction storyline in there, but we can pick them up here and continue the game. And there are obviously dire consequences for doing though, but there is one interesting trait. Because we survived, we have this, the Mind Shield perk. You have awakened a demigod and attained an ability to shield your mind from negativity and other unpleasantries, destroying an entire city in the process. So what does this mean? What benefits does this have for us? That, friends, is a story for another age. But this has been the Age of Decadence, a fascinating story of adventure, political intrigue, and cosmic fucking horror lingering in the background. And unfortunately, you have to suffer through the game to get to it. But it is still one of the most fascinating things I've ever played. And I absolutely love the writing and the way it's delivered and the setting. It's just a pity that you have to endure the extremely difficult opening chapter to get to it. But it is something I absolutely... yeah, the worst thing about the game is the game. Yeah, no kidding. And again, it gets fair-ish as you get further in. The combat encounters get a bit better balanced. Your build starts to get better formed. You have contingencies, but it is the kind of game where if you don't have a very specific build in mind and focus on that in terms of combat abilities, you will run into a roadblock one way or another. But yeah, there is some genius in this, and you have to suffer through a lot of jank and questionable early game decisions to see it. But I absolutely love this game, and I hope this was a good illustration as to why. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good night. No stream next week. We will be starting Chants of Sennar on... what day would that be? That would be... September 6th. So, Saturday after next. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.